Yo, guys, what's going on? LuckyRave is back again to give you guys my live stream discussion slash review on Fairy Tale 100 Years Quest, chapter 173. And first of all, I gotta make this more proper. Happy Thanksgiving Eve. Let me start off with that. Happy Thanksgiving Eve. Because, well, as you all know, tomorrow is going to be, the big celebration of Thanksgiving. And I know a lot of you guys are probably on the road trying to get to where you need to be, or you're trying to get things set up. But it's one of those two things that are happening today. So hopefully you guys are all staying safe and sound out there. Because right now, traffic is going to be kind of crazy. Unless you're already where you need to be, then that's good. You're on the safe side. But the crazy part's going to come the next day for obvious reasons. But given that, I know the 100 Years Quest chapter came out yesterday. And if you're wondering why I didn't tackle the stream yesterday, because usually when I'm on break from work for like a week, usually what happens is that I'm able to tackle the chapter on the day, right, when it comes out. But the reason why I what's the word I'm using here? The reason why I decided to hold off on the stream until today is because, well, if you've been keeping up with me on Twitter, then I've been, playing for Magia, which was the newest game where Hiro Mashima was, like the lead character designer. And I was kind of curious. I was like, you know what? I want to see what this game is about, what the story's about. And where I was yesterday was more or less like almost wrapping up the story. So I told myself, let me focus on finishing up the story for Magia, and then tomorrow, meaning today, I will take the time to discuss chapter 173. And now I'm here. I'm here to discuss those events with y'all. And honestly, I'm going to be real. I am actually a little glad that I held off on saving this chapter stream for today, because now that I've actually, now that, I've read the chapter, I kind of let my thoughts sit on it. It's giving me a little bit of thoughts and perspective as to like what we could get for the next upcoming chapters, especially if you consider where this sits in the volumes, right? Because keep in mind, volume 19 ends up with chapter 171, so this would be the second chapter of volume 20. So volume 20 is still kind of starting off like really really starting off. Anyway, so chapter 173 is called A World in Chaos. Got this nice, beautiful cover page of, Wendy doing piano lessons. It's actually really sweet. But we cut to the town of Dramel, which, by the way, I don't know how this slipped past me, but whenever I was talking about the episode discussion stream for episode 17 and 18, like, it kind of clicked in my head. I was like, oh my god, the timing of us getting, Dramel and us getting it again in the manga. Like, Hero is good at these kind of things when it comes to timing, okay? Like, the whole aspect of Suijin, the water dragon god, seeing him again in the manga and seeing his debut in the anime, like, that is some mad timing, okay? That is really some mad timing right there. And the same thing over here, like in episode 18, okay? I had a similar thing with this. Yeah, you had a very very similar case here with okay, more so the end of episode 18. But you had a very similar case with the town of Dramel, okay, being showcased in the anime, and then us getting to the destruction of Dramel here in the manga. I'm like, dude, that is like, Hero knows what he's doing. He really does. But given that, you see what's going on in the town. Erza seeing, and she's like, "What's going on?" And it's like people fighting off against like humanoid. Well, see, it's people. Some of them are like kind of like engulfed in like this like black aura that's kind of surrounding them. Some of them are like dragonized, which kind of get an idea as to what's going on. And she's like, "Wait, people are killing each other. Wait, are they even human?" She's referring to the people who are dragonized, and of course, there's also the people who, by the looks of things, are a bit. They're not shadowed out, obviously, but they've kind of got this like dark mist surrounding their face. Like, what the heck? And then she remembers what Midnight mentioned to her, which was, "You're the only one who can save the town, Erza." And she's like, "That's ridiculous." And one of the citizens comes to attack Erza, and she's like, "A dragon human?" And then she's thinking like, "And this one's a wizard." No, they're being controlled by black magic. The dragon humans and the humans being controlled by magic are killing each other. And then there's like a tremble that happens. She feels like the trembles. And then she looks upwards, okay? And you see two figures. She's like, "What's this magic?" And then you see on one corner, you see Ignia. In another corner, you see Black Wizard Faris. Okay? So she's there. And she's like, "Ignia," and then she looks over. "And Faris? The Black Wizard?" And Faris just says, "What's so fun about turning humans into dragons?" And Ignia's like, "I'm not doing it for fun. I'm saturating this world with dragons." And, she finds that amusing. And Ignia asks a very, very valid question here. "And why are you controlling humans?" And she's like, "Just for fun." Which I don't believe that to be a fact. No, 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 no. Okay. Ferris is saying, "I'm doing this just for fun." No. I 100% believe there's something else more to Black Wizard Ferris than what we're being led to believe. I 100% believe that. There is more to, Earthland Ferris than what we're being led to believe. I 100% think that. For sure. Like, yeah, look, Ferris, even though it was elementary fellows, she was a very key prominent part for like the first 10 volumes. Like Ferris was very, very prominent. So to now bring it back full circle and doing it now with the Earthling counterpart, I think is very fitting. And the fact that we're getting her now, I think just stems so much, okay? Like, okay, A, we know, how she's connected to Acnologia, which was through the severed arm. We know that. And we get a little bit of a reasoning, and she's saying, "I'm doing this just for fun." But we know I do 100% think there's more to Ferris than what we're being told. And Urza's like, "Why you?" And she's charging up towards them. Ignia notices this, Ferris notices this, and then someone else sweeps in, okay? And they're like, "I'm your opponent. You'll fight me." What? And let me just say this right now. Wet looked pretty cool when he was first introduced, but yo, his dragonized form, like, that is badass, okay? Looking like a goddamn Viking, if I'm being perfectly real here. He looks, oh, well, and I say kind of like a Viking more so with the mask, and kind of with like how his aesthetic is. It looks very similar to that. But, like, dude, the wings in the back, and then the sword and the tail, like, it looks really, really good. Really, really, really good. And Earth is like, your body. And he's like, "I've been dragonized. I wanted to settle things with you before that happened, but there's nothing to be done about that now." And, Urza is like trying to get ready as he's running in for the attack, and he says, "Let us determine who is number one with the sword in the world." And, before we can actually see the fight go down, we cut over to the former site of Gold Owl. And Gray's here, okay? And he's like, oh, geez, the Lacrimite got to destroy. Is above Viernus. Now, here's the thing I find funny. So, we all know when it came to Viernus, there was a lot to be left to desire when it came to Viernus, when he was showcased, obviously. But Viernus now is here, 100%, right? And it's only just Gray by himself. Because people want to say, oh, but we took in Mercphobia at 100%. It was so easy. Keep in mind about Mercphobia, it wasn't that Lucy soloed Mercphobia. She needed the assistance of Brandish in order for her to win that fight. So it was a group effort with her and Brandish. Gray right here is just alone. So there are two possibilities here. Because he's by himself with Viernez, I think this is gonna lead to, because this was actually mentioned a little while ago, actually, if I'm being perfectly real here. This I do believe is gonna lead back to Athena. Because she mentioned this too. Because Viernus is now back, she did say, well, I can play my part now. I can play my part in, really taking down Viernus. So while Gray's here by himself and he's just saying, like, man, I ain't no Dragon Slayer. But this is all we get from Gray. It's just him looking down at Viernus, and Viernus looking like he's getting ready to, like, cause some shit. So he's like, man, I'm really in a tight bind here. I'm really stuck. Unfortunately, that's where he's at. But what I think is going to happen with Gray, Athena 100% is going to show up at some point. I do think that. Very much like how Lucy was on her own, and then Brandish came in. I think we're going to get something similar to that, to where now, Athena will step in to assist Gray. Which will be an interesting team up. I'm not going to lie. That's going to be really, really interesting to witness. Then you cut over to Diabolos. Okay, and Wendy's there. And she looks over. She looks at all the members of Diablos, okay? Looking at Suzaku. Looking at Scullion. Mr. Charman. Okay, Curie is there. There's a couple other people, too. I mean, the boy that's kind of crushing on her. I mean, look, listen. For me, it was always Romeo and Wendy, but I don't feel like that's going to be the direction we're going in now, which is a bit unfortunate. But if it came to fairy tale ships and who I thought Wendy was going to pair up with, I was going to say Romeo. I know there's a side that says Chelia, which and look, if it does end up being Chelia, cool. No complaints there. No complaints whatsoever. But you see what happens. And she's like, what happened to everyone? You're hurt so badly. And Scullion's like, Celine shifted into dragon form. And Curia says, she really got us. Cha! And that's what, Mr. Charman says, Mad Mole. I love this dude. This dude is hilarious. And actually, you know what? I'm gonna keep this in mind just to remember just remember these guys. So not Scullion, obviously. It was Haku. Yeah, how did I forget this dude? Yeah, Haku, Kieran, I do remember her. There's also Misaki. Yeah, okay, so it was just a few names. Some of the not great. I can't even say great characters, but like the more or lesser tier characters in Diablos have kind of still my mind. But you see this, but Haku's like, "You came for me, Wendy." Oh, and Carl is just like, "Get a grip, will you?" And Wendy says, "I'll cast healing on you right away." And Suzaku's like, "No need." To which Kieran says, "Don't be shy. I'm gonna take her. I'm gonna take her. Take her up on it." Wow, I can't speak today. And Carla says, "Well, where'd Celine go?" To which Masaki says, "She's lost all reason. She's nothing but a dragon now." And Wendy says, "No. I'll restore her back to normal." Well, restored to normal, specifically. I swear it as a Sky Dragon Slayer. And Carrie is just like, were you always so strong-willed? And Madden was like, wonderful, cha. Kieran's like, glad I didn't burn you to ash. And Skullen's like, ugh. To which Haku still be Mr. Loverboy here. You're the bestest, Wendy. And Suzaku's just like, huh? Like, really? And that's honestly where we end up. Like, as far as chapters go, this is where we end off chapter 173. And honestly, the best way I can say about 173, it's setup. In the best possible way, this is a setup chapter. And it's a very good setup chapter, okay? Because again, and this is divided into three into thirds, right? So the first third of the chapter, obviously, we're focused on Erza getting to Dramel and figuring out what's going on. Okay, citizens are fighting amongst each other. People that are controlled by Faris, people that are controlled by Ignia, that are dragonized. Pretty crazy. And in midst of all that, obviously, you have a bit of a confrontation being set up here with Ignia and Faris. Black Wizard Faris, to be more specific. And, in midst of all that, you had Erza now set up in a fight against Wed, which I've already seen the joke people making. Okay, I've seen the joke people saying, "Oh, yo, she gonna two-shot like Wed." Like, guys, this ain't the OG manga, okay? And when I say OG, I mean like post Tenro Island Erza. That's not what we're getting here. Erza in 100 Years Quest, in terms of her fights, has been really, really good. Okay, and listen, I've never been an Erza hater. Okay, as in fact, and I've said this time and time again, I love her personality. I love how meek she can be, and sure, her flaws do kind of stem from a fighting capable, with her being like a little bit too overpowered from the original manga. But as far as 100 Years Quest goes, 100 Years Quest, and I've said this time and time again, 100 Years Quest has done Erza, in my opinion, much better when it comes to her fight. Because, again, she's not just soloing characters. This time she's actually fighting characters and really giving her a challenge. Like a real challenge, and one that lasts more than, say, like a few frames, which I do like. I do like that. So if I had to guess on how long the fight between Wed and Urza is going to be, I'm going to say maybe approximately, let's say like 2 or 3 chapters. Like for a standard pacing that Mashima likes to go for. I'm willing to say like 2 to 3 chapters. So, and of course, getting some stuff in between all that too. But if I had to take a guess, because how long was the Brandish stuff? Like the stuff with Lucy and Brandish, I want to say it was probably. Let me see here. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I want to say at the very least like 4 chapters. Let's look back on this. So if we're gonna use the Lucy fight as a template, okay? So let's look back at the chapters again when Lucy first gets to Mercphobia. We're gonna look at this real quick. So it's the end of so end of chapter 165. Okay, that's where we get the setup here. Because Lucy like drops right into Ermina. So from 165 going all the way into, I want to say it's 168. At least that's what it seems like. 168. Yeah. So end of 165 up to 168. That's a span of like 3 chapters. So I'm willing to give the same range for Urza too. It's like at the very least a few chapters, guaranteed, for that fight in particular. 100%. I do think that. So yeah, the Urza fight I think will probably last up until maybe let's say chapter 175, 176, like I mean, or maybe even like half of 176. Half of 176 might probably be what encompasses the fight with Erza, I think. Earliest I want to say is like maybe end of chapter 175. So at least 2 chapters worth of material, maybe 2.5 chapters. Again, earliest I say 175, latest I say 176 is my bet. Now, this is where you get to the more interesting stuff. Okay, the whole thing was Gray. Okay, because you have a setup here now. Gray's gonna destroy the Lacrima. That's one. But it's against Viernus. Now, and I've already stated this. Viernus was obviously someone who left more than what was desired from him as like a dragon god, right? Now Viernus is at 100%. He has his time to shine. So what I think is going to happen, in my opinion, Gray's going to obviously fight Viernus. He's going to struggle 100%. And what's going to happen after that is Athena will show up. And you're going to get a team up there between Gray and Athena taking on Viernus. I think that's going to be a case that we get to. And then the last portion obviously centers around Wendy. And her, getting to Diablos, obviously her healing them, which we're seeing that happening right now. And her being set up to take on Celine. And I think when you have all three of these fights correlating at the same time, one of these fights I do think will be held off until the end of either the end of the volume or leaning into volume 21. I do think that. So if I have to take a guess, I'm going to say obviously the fight with Erza and Wed I do think is going to end in this volume, 100%. Gray and Viernus. Now, it's either going to be that fight or it's going to be Wendy and Celine. One of those two is going to be, pushed off until the next one. I think that's probably where we're going to go. But here's the thing: Wendy's not by herself. Okay, it's not just going to be Wendy taking on Celine. I do believe 100% you're going to get, the other members of Diablos like stepping in to help her. And I do think this does help in a lot of ways because they're not just taking on the Dragon God solo. Because for a lot of people being like, oh shoot, like they're gonna solo these Dragon Gods one-on-one. That's not what we're getting here. Okay? Lucy and Brandish, key example of that. That was a team effort. And you're gonna get a similar case here. Gray and Athena, I'm 100% betting on that is gonna happen. And Wendy will take on Celine. But ultimately, what's going to happen is that you're going to have the members of Diablo stepping in to help them. And that's going to happen. 100% that's what's going to happen with these two fights. And like I said, Erza versus Wed, you will finish up with this volume for sure. Okay? Gray and Viernus, that could be a fight that probably reaches its end and Athena steps in. Okay. And then there's Wendy and Celine, where that's another fight I think could go in that direction too. But overall, as a setup chapter, and that's how I'm going to rate this here. As a setup chapter, this was a great chapter. Okay, this was a really, really great chapter for Fairy Tail 100 Years Quest, chapter 173. And again, keep in mind, this is only just the second chapter in volume 20. This is only just the second chapter. So we still have at least like another 7 chapters to go before we wrap up volume 20. Which, given that, I mean, how many more chapters do we have left in the year? Well, keep in mind, Fairy Tail 100 Years Quest is bi-weekly. So, let me think here. So the third chapter will drop on December 10th. That'll be 174. And then Christmas Eve will be where we get chapter 175. Yeah. So we're not going to obviously wrap up the volume by the end of the year. That's not what we're going to get. But nonetheless, it is going to be exciting to see what we're going to get. And also, guys, consider this. Like, there's only going to be 2 chapters left before the year ends, okay? So, whatever this last chapter of the year will be for Fairy Tail Nearest Quest, it's going to be super interesting. It's going to be super, super interesting. And I can't wait. I honestly cannot wait to see with what Hero and Ueda have to offer. Overall, like I said before, the chapter rating as a whole was a great chapter. All right. And I can't wait to see with what we get. So let me know what you guys thought from the comment sections down below. I mean, if I had to take some nitpicks, the only few nitpicks I can name is that I do kind of wish we got a little bit of what was happening with Lucy, and maybe a little bit with what was going on with like Natsu and Happy and Misfortune. Kind of get a little bit there. Like it's cool. Like I like that we're focusing on the other 3. I do, but I do kind of wish we got a. In Lucy's case, she had like practically like half of the last poem, so I can kind of excuse that. Natsu though, like Ignia is about to take on Faris, so dude's gonna pop up at some point. And I do get a sense that he'll probably show up either within like the next few chapters. I do think that. Maybe we even start off 2025 with Natsu. It's my 2 cents. But yeah, aside from that, like do share what your gripes are with this chapter 2. What are things you loved about this chapter? And aside from that, guys, that's pretty much it. I'm LuckyRave. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more fairy tale content here on Mashima content, and I will catch you guys on the flip side. Laters.